Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Spanna Ma'am's Biology. In this video, I will be explaining you about the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides. So let us start. So coming to the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides. So first, we will see its classification, that is taxonomy. So we know that Ascaris belongs to the kingdom Animalia. It belongs to the phylum Nematoda, class Rhabditia, order Ascaroidea, family Ascaroidae, genus Ascaris, and species is lumbricoides. Okay. So when we see the introduction of this worm, it is commonly called as roundworm, and it is the largest intestinal nematode. So this Ascaris lumbricoides is a causative agent of ascaraiasis, and its distribution is worldwide in distribution, and mainly it will be present in our small intestine and mainly jejunal in the small intestine. When we see the morphological forms, means different forms, how this worm occurs, it, it has two forms, that is male form as well as the female form. When we see the eggs of Ascaris, they are fertilized eggs and some are unfertilized and some are decorticated. In the larval form of Ascaris lumbricoides is called as Rhabditi form larva. So we have to remember the larval form of Ascaris lumbricoides is Rhabditi form larva. So when we see the morphology, the structure of this worm. So these adult worms are cylindrical in shape and they have tapering ends. And the color of these worms is pinkish white in color. And at the anterior end, there is mouth which is surrounded by three lips and it has minute teeth. So this is a morphological form. So it is cylindrical in shape and it is tapering at both ends. There are male form as well as female form. So this is the male form as well as this is a female form. We can see here the female is larger or longer when compared to that of male. When we see the posterior end of the male is curved, whereas the posterior end of the female is straight. So this is when we see the male form, it is smaller than that of the female, and the posterior end is curved and it has two copulatory spicules. So when we see the posterior end, it is curved and it contains two copulatory spicules, which helps in the copulation, that is mating. So when we see the adult female worm, the female is longer when compared to that of the male, and the posterior end of the female is straight. And it has no copulatory spicules. Okay. And when we see the eggs of these Ascaris lumbricoides, there are three kinds of the eggs. Some are fertilized eggs and some are unfertilized and some are decorticated. Okay. And when we see the structure of these eggs, they are golden brown in color normally. Okay, the shell will be thick and they are mamillated. So we call these eggs as mamillated eggs. So this is also one of the important point in the case of the eggs of Ascaris lumbricoides, that is about fertilized eggs. When we see the unfertilized eggs, they are brown colored and they are thin shelled. Okay, and how we can distinguish between the fertilized eggs and unfertilized eggs is the fertilized eggs will float, okay, will float in the salt solution, whereas unfertilized eggs does not float on salt solution. And there are other type of the eggs which are called as decorticated eggs, that is both fertilized and unfertilized eggs sometimes may lack their albuminous coat, okay, which are called as decorticated eggs. When there is no albuminous coat on the top of the eggs, we call them as decorticated eggs, which are colorless. Okay, so this is a fertilized eggs which is golden yellow in color. This is a unfertilized eggs which is brown in color. Okay, so we can see there is albuminous layer on the fertilized egg. And when there is no albuminous layer on the fertilized eggs or unfertilized eggs, we call it as decorticated eggs. Okay, so there are three types of the eggs. And coming to the larval form, that is the larval form of Ascaris is Rhabditi form larva. Okay, so this Rhabditi form larva is actively motile, and this Rhabditi larva will be hatching out in the duodenum and penetrates into the mucosa of the intestine. So mainly the host, host is man. There are no intermediate hosts or reservoir hosts. So this is a monogenetic parasite. Mainly the source of infection is due to the contaminated food, contaminated water. Okay, when they are contaminated with these eggs of the Ascaris lumbricoides. And the infective forms of these eggs are embryonated eggs. So we will study about the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay. So when we see the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides, first, both the male and the female forms will be copulating in the intestines of the man. Okay. So I will increase the size. You can clearly understand. So we can see here both the male and the female worms where they will be residing in the small intestines of the. So in the man, both the male and the female worms will be populating, and the female liberates about 2 lakhs of eggs per day. And these eggs are called as mamillated eggs. So these mamillated eggs, which are liberated in the small intestine, and they will be developing into what is called as Rhabditi form larva. So there is these mamillated eggs will be coming out of the small intestine of the man through the excretion. This is to the fecal matter of the infected man, and in the soil, the development takes place. And from the eggs, the first form of the first form of the larva, which is called as Rhabditi form larva, is formed. This is happening in the soil. Okay, so this Rhabditi form larva, which is formed, this undergoes first molting, and it is developing into what is called as second stage Rhabditi form larva. So this second stage Rhabditi form larva is infective stage of the parasite to the man. So whenever the man is taking this contaminated food or water, which is containing these eggs, means these Rhabditi form larvae are present in the soil. Whenever he is taking that contaminated food or water, this enter into the person, okay, who is taking that contaminated food, and directly they enter into the intestine. Okay, so now they are entering into the intestine of the man, and after entering into the small intestine, the Rhabditi form larva comes out of the small intestine. Okay. So now the Rhabditi form larva, after the shell get digested, is coming out of the small intestine. And now it is entering into the different places. Okay. It is migrating to the different places in that person. So first it is entering into the liver of that person. So from the intestine, it is entering into the liver through the hepatic portal vein. And from the liver, it is entering into the heart to the post-caval vein, and from the heart it is entering into the lungs. In the lungs it is going into the alveoli. So from the alveoli of the lungs, in the alveoli it is staying and it is undergoing second molting and is developing into the third stage larva, and it undergoes the third molting and is developing into fourth stage larva, and after that it reaches to the different places in that person. So bronchi, trachea, it enters into the larynx, it enters into the glottis, then pharynx, then esophagus. At last, it reaches the stomach and then again small intestine. So when it is reaching the small intestine, again the fourth molting, that is the final molting takes place and it is developing into the young worm. The young worm is developing into the adult. Okay. So this migration to the different places, so from the liver, it is entering into the heart into the lungs, and the lungs again into the different places like bronchi, trachea, larynx, glottis, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, again into the small intestine. This migration is called as extraintestinal migration. So the migration of the ascaris to the different places, we call it as extraintestinal migration. And after that, after it is reaching the small intestine, it is undergoing the fourth molting and is developing into the young one. The young one is developing into the adult. So the cycle continues. So when we are describing about the Ascaris, so it is one of the important long answer which is present in your IPE, okay, in the first year. So when we are describing about the life cycle of Ascaris, mainly we have to remember about the mamillated eggs, And we have to remember about the Rhabditi form larva, the two moltings which are happening in the soil, and after that it is coming into the intestine due to the contamination, and after the dissolving of the sheath, the Rhabditi form larva is coming out and is undergoing a migration which is called as extraintestinal migration. So these are the important uh, words which you have to describe in your long answer. That is mainly these. That is extraintestinal migration, mamillated eggs, and the Rhabditi form larva, which completes the life cycle of Ascaris. So this is about the complete life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoides. Okay. So the same is here. So when we see the epidemiology where this Ascar is present, it is worldwide distribution. Okay. Mainly it will be infecting the small children who will be playing with the mud, because these are the people who will be playing with the mud and will be taking the contaminated soil which contains these eggs. Okay, mainly the children are infected, which we call it as worm infection. And the treatment of the Ascaris lumbricoides, that is the worm infection, is by giving some of the tablets like mebendazole, pyrantel paramount, and piperagine citrate. In prophylaxis, we know that is preventive measures, proper disposal of the human feces, and avoid eating contaminated foods as well as vegetables, and periodic treatment with antihelminthics. Okay, this prevents the infection of Ascaris lumbricoides. So this is about our Ascaris lumbricoides life cycle, epidemiology, prophylaxis, pathogenesis, etc. Hope you like this video. If you like this video, give a like, please share and subscribe my channel, Swarna Ma'am's Biology. Thank you.